Do you realize that altcoins in this crypto narrative are going to be some of the top performing altcoins of this bull market? And yet, no one is talking about this narrative right now, but things are about to change. With Peak Network exploding towards the upside today, people are going to start paying attention to DePIN. And in this video, I'm going to tell you why DePIN is the narrative you need to be looking into right now. And I'm going to show you some of the most undervalued coins within DePIN that I think are going to see some of the biggest gains over the next weeks and months. So do me a favor, hit that like button. Let's get into today's video. Now guys, before we dive in and find out why DePIN is probably going to be the hottest narrative in the coming weeks, we need to understand where we are in this crypto bull market and why going into the undiscovered narratives is the best option for us. Right now, Bitcoin has been recovering. It's now above $95,000 at the time of making this video. Can it get rejected and go lower? Potentially, but things are looking pretty strong right now, and we're seeing it happen across the altcoins, especially with coins like XRP, XLM, Cardano, etc. starting to push higher. We're going to see a lot of attention dragged back into those coins. Remember, you don't make money in crypto by buying into the coins that everyone is looking at. I made a video talking about XRP when it was all the way up here in December, where I told you that everyone else was looking at it as well. If everyone else is already looking at it, who's left to come in and buy crypto after you to push the price higher? The answer should probably be no one, okay? Because if you're hearing about it because the price is pumping, it means everyone's already looking at it. And Peak Network is already pumping. If you want to know more about Peak Network, I actually made a video on it over 9 months ago, talking about what Peak Network is and why DePIN is such a big deal. But don't worry, we're going to look into DePIN a little bit more in this video. Now, if you want to be ahead of the game, not necessarily by a complete 9 months, but significantly ahead of the game when it comes to the next narratives, the newest coins, and the best tools to be using in crypto, then make sure you subscribe to the House of Crypto, notification bell turned on, where you're going to learn to understand exactly what's about to happen in crypto, rather than knowing what's already happening. Anyway, we've got this far into the video, and you're still wondering to yourself, what the F is DePIN? Good question. DePIN stands for Decentralized Physical Infrastructure Networks. And effectively, it's using the blockchain to link up with real-world infrastructure. So to put it very simply, let's just say outside, I live in a very windy place. I go and put up one of those turbines. I can then earn money from those turbines, sell it back to other people, and you can pay me in different tokens, all decentrally rather than having to go through central grids and things like that. You could also have a charging carport outside your house so that people could go and park their Tesla up there, and you could go and charge their Tesla, and then you could make money in tokens through that Tesla. And that's just a few examples of what DePIN can offer. Now, why is DePIN the place that we should be looking right now? Well, because according to Milk Road, the DePIN market cap has climbed by 400% to $20 billion in the last year. That's crazy. And it's actually growing 400% year on year. By the end of this video, you're going to understand that DePIN is one area of crypto that's probably going to be actually sustainable into the future because it's actually generating money. Who would have thought? And here's another major reason why we should be looking into DePIN right now. Because no one else is. Look, this is AI crypto, the red line, absolute huge search volume. DePIN right under here. No one's looking into it. So how do we go and find DePIN projects to invest in? I hear you cry. Well, of course, you can go across to coinmarketcap.com. You can come down below where it says DePIN, and you're going to get a list of all of the most popular DePIN projects. But I get it. You're busy. You might be new to this, and there's a lot of different crypto projects. And sorting through these to find out which ones are good and bad can be a bit challenging. See, at the top, we've got ones that lots of people are talking about, like Render, with a market cap of $3.8 billion, Filecoin, $3.2 billion. These are kind of household names when it comes to crypto, but are unlikely to see significant upside in this bull market because they're already pretty big, and as well because of what I'm about to show you. Now, what we need to do is simply jump across this new website that I found today that actually is pretty amazing. It's called DePIN.Ninja, and if you jump across the metrics tab, you're going to see something that's going to blow your mind and make it very easy to identify which projects we probably should be investing in and which ones we should maybe steer clear of. Metrics, 30-day revenue. Now, DePIN is made up of 6 different categories, 5 or 6 different categories, okay? Those are compute, human capital, sensors, wireless, AI, and AI compute crossover. Now, looking into these, bearing in mind this is revenue, which of these do you think we should be looking into? If your answer was compute, give yourself a pat on the back. Now, if we jump across to market cap, you'll see that AI is the biggest. We then have compute, and then coming down, human capital, wireless, etc. So the ones with the most value are the ones that are making the most money. Pretty much. Okay, now here's something that's very interesting. If you look at revenue, you see AI down here not really making much in general, yet you see AI market cap being the biggest here. And that's a bit of a clue into what we're going to look into now, because a lot of the most undervalued ones are actually in the compute area that are making huge amounts of money, but not having a market cap that's kind of fair to the amount of money that's coming in. So why is compute such a big deal, and what is kind of compute? Well, imagine this. You want to go and create yourself an AI project, like a ChatGPT or a Claude AI or something like that. Guess what? In order to be able to build that project, you're going to need a huge amount of compute power, which traditionally you would have got from Amazon Web Services, and it would cost you up to like $3 or $4 million to build a ChatGPT, possibly even more than that. Now, here's a problem. Now, lots and lots of people are now trying to build all these AI projects, which means there's even less compute power available, making it more expensive and difficult to get hold of. Now, the benefit of using the blockchain for this is you can go and use compute power from various different places at once rather than just one individual place. This means that you can then gather compute power to use to build your project on a significantly cheaper scale, and it's also going to give you availability. AI, as you can see, is projected to have a $1.7 trillion spend on hardware by the year 2030. And that's pretty positive because it shows the growth of AI right now at 43% continual annual growth rate. Now, this might be getting complicated, but just think of it simply. We want to invest in projects that are going to make money, yeah? Because utility coins are ultimately designed to try and make money. Therefore, it makes lots of sense to invest into projects that are making lots of money or have the potential to make lots of money in the future. And this is basically a projection that shows you a huge potential to make lots of money in the future. And it's even expected by 2030 that 1% of the GDP in America is going to get spent on AI development. That's also pretty big. And according to IO.net, the demand for compute power for AI apps is increasing by 10x every 18 months. Every year and a half, the demand for these types of products is going up 10x. Okay? So there's a chance that some of these products actually make money and continue to grow bigger even during a crypto bear market. Is it possible? Well, let's think about that later on. Okay, so now we know that AI compute is the area we should be looking into, and it's the area that's going to make the most money. Therefore, we should be looking at projects that are pretty undervalued based on the fact they're making a lot of money and their market caps are smaller. Now, while I wish I had something even more exciting and dynamic to show you, if you go to the homepage of deepin.ninja, then you will have already realized they have a Deepin revenue leaderboard, which makes our life incredibly easy. Now, if you come down the list, some of the ones that we looked at earlier, like Render and Filecoin, are sitting down in 4th and 5th. But when you look at this, it will probably completely put you off the likes of Render and Filecoin. And why is that? Well, Render is valued at just under $4 billion, something like $3.8 billion at the time of making this video. And yet its annual recurring revenue is $9 million, which means it will take 439 years for the amount of revenue to match the market cap of Render. Now, I know that's not how market caps are calculated, but you would have to argue that this does lean in the direction of being maybe slightly overvalued. This means that Render is basically being propped up by you and your mates going and buying the token and pumping it up higher and higher. Yes, it makes $9 million a year. That's not really that much given the market cap. Now, if you go up the list, IO.net sits here with $19 million annual rate of return, which is more than twice that of Render, and yet sits there with a $416 million market cap, which means it's only 22 years on this rate of return to be able to return its market cap. If we go up the list, you've got Glow, and then you've got Aether at the top. Now, I've obviously talked about Aether before on this channel. I personally am invested in Aether. I'm also invested in IO.net, and I'm invested in Render, and I'll tell you why I hold each of these later on. Now, coming up to the top, you've got Aether with a $362 million market cap right now, and an annual rate of return of $89 million. That means that 25% of its market cap is annual rate of return, which is insane. Even like top companies on the US stock exchange are not making 25% of their market cap in their annual revenue. Okay, that's just absolutely outrageous. So therefore, these coins at the top are significantly undervalued compared to the coins that are lower down, particularly the ones with a smaller market cap. Now, before you go and dive into buying Aether and whatever else, there is another element to this. Obviously, Peak Network is surging towards the upside. Why? Well, it had a very successful launch back in the autumn of 2024, and it's overall a pretty cool product, okay? Powering the machine economy, it's a layer 1, it's partnered up with some major names across Web 2, and is likely going to be a very hot project into the future. You can see total value of Deepin devices on the Peak Network at $1 billion, 50 plus different Deepin projects building on top of it. So for a layer 1, this is pretty interesting, but already pretty large market cap. I highly recommend, even if you're not interested in investing in it, I'm not saying that you should because it's already been pumping, come and look at peak.network, okay? Because it's going to give you more of an understanding about what Deepin is and the future potential of the blockchain. just ultimately a very cool thing to look into. If you have any interest in crypto other than just trying to make money, this is one that I highly recommend looking at. Now, obviously, this channel isn't about buying the tops of big green candles like we're getting on Peak Network. It's about identifying value in coins that aren't really getting much attention right now. Therefore, let's go and have a look at the other two that we've just talked about with massive revenue and smaller market caps. And we'll start off with IO.net. Both IO.net and Aether are providing compute power or deep-in compute power. IO.net, the internet of GPUs, is finally here. So what IO.net does is basically connects you, the user who needs compute power, with people who can provide compute power. The people who are providing it maybe have like gaming laptops and stuff with kind of like high power GPUs in, and various other kind of farms and things out there. Now, what IO.net does that's slightly unique from maybe what Aether does is it clusters together all of the compute power at once. So instead of relying on one computer, you are now relying on thousands of different computers at any given time to give you the power that you need. It's incredibly cost effective compared with Amazon Web Services. It's incredibly fast. It basically allows you to cope with the demands of building different large language models and things like that. Now, you can come through down below and you can see some of the different chips that are on offer from IO.net, which is going to be very crucial in understanding a little bit more about how Aether stacks up against IO.net. Now, again, IO.net is built on Solana, a hot ecosystem, kind of like Render is also on Solana, and therefore likely to see some good upside. Now, right now, IO.net is a $419 million market cap. And you can see, obviously, the crypto gods have been listening to me. You can see the price starting to move higher now. And you can see that maybe we're getting in just at the very right time. Now, we can see, looking across the chart, that IO.net launched in June. And a lot of projects that launched back in June typically sold off aggressively because there just wasn't the liquidity in the market to cope with the kind of like the size of these projects when they launched. You can see though, solid pattern, it's broken up above here, now come back into this buy zone area, and it's bounced out from around $2.8, currently valued around 3.2. If Bitcoin does take a dip, IO.net could well return to this range, but ultimately it has just created this W pattern. We would anticipate that maybe IO.net is about to send like this. How big can it go? Well, it's valued at like a tenth of what Render is right now. I anticipate Render doing maybe a 3 or 4x in this bull market, which does mean IO.net still has the potential to maybe go and do 20, maybe 30x over this bull market, given that it's in a narrative that is very much underrated and about to see a lot of excitement and attention, and particularly some of these top-end projects that are making decent revenue. Now, just a disclaimer, I personally hold Render, I hold IO.net, and I hold Aether. Why do I hold those three? Bearing in mind that Render doesn't really make much money compared to how big it is. Well, because I still think that Render's going to get a lot of attention in this early stage of the bull market. We're seeing XRP, Cardano, HBAR, etc. pumping, mainly because they're available on Coinbase and Binance, and new people in crypto are just buying the projects that are kind of getting attention early. Okay, so the projects that people already know, Render kind of fits into that category, will likely see the earlier growth, but I will start to take my gains out of there and move it into other coins and build up the positions I've got in the other deep in place. For example, Aether and IO.net. Aether currently sits with a $361 million market cap. Fully diluted valuation is $2.6 billion, which if you're newer in crypto, you might think is awful, okay? Because there's going to be lots of unlocks coming over the next few years. And you are right. Over the next few years, there will be big unlocks, but most of the unlocks in Aether aren't coming until 2026 or beyond that, by which point I'm going to be out of crypto completely, chilling the hell out, waiting for the next bear market bottom to be able to get back in. So don't worry too much about those unlocks. They're going to come after the bull market and they're not too relevant for us. So how is Aether making $89 million per year? Well, Aether has a unique proposition here in that it's partnered up with NVIDIA, the world's largest AI company, to deliver H100 GPU chips. Now, I'm not technical, but I'm aware that the H100 is the Rolls-Royce of GPUs. It's the GPU that every AI company out there needs to be able to use to build top quality large language models, AI agents, etc. Aether is the project that pretty much is supporting the whole crypto AI ecosystem, believe it or not. A lot of different AI projects are building using Aether's AI compute power. And a very cool thing they've just added is this new GPU dashboard where you can see the annual recurring revenue. In fact, it's now up at $90.6 million. You can see all of the different compute hours and things that they've got going on. Okay, you can see all the demand and different countries that are kind of demanding all of this different compute. And you can kind of see this cool map here showing you each and every area where the different GPUs are getting used and where these different GPUs are coming from. It's very cool. Bearing in mind this project launched like midway through 2024, it's pretty incredible the amount of progress they're making in terms of this revenue. Not only that, but kind of the marketing and everything behind Aether is pretty much bang on. We know hot narratives in this bull market are AI, deep in obviously AI crossover. Aether is also partnering with Injective to launch the world's first tokenized GPU marketplace. This then gives it a bit of real world asset narrative on top just sprinkle it in. You can see how this is all coming together. Not only is it a project that has good revenue, but it's also partnering up and being very aware of how narratives grow within crypto. They've also launched a $40 million tactical compute platform with Beam, which is a pretty big deal. Again, Beam is within the gaming ecosystem, another hot narrative in crypto. All very interesting. I mean, ultimately, Aether isn't just about kind of AI compute, but it also works quite heavily within the kind of gaming ecosystem, providing cloud gaming. So, for example, if you don't have the latest laptop or Xbox or whatever, you can still go and play top-level games by accessing them on the cloud. Okay, this is quite a cool thing. Another thing that Aether is working towards. Guys, obviously, go and do your own research into these projects. I personally am holding all of these ones because I see the upside potential in them. And really, these numbers speak for themselves. So as we can see, Aether right now, market cap 362 mil, is less than a tenth the size of Render. So that's a 10x up to the same scale as Render is at right now. And potentially, if we're anticipating Render doing 3, 4, 5, whatever X during this bull market, maybe you can see then Aether doing 20, 30 X's into the bull market. Now, what is interesting about Aether on the charts right now, it's still coming down into that support area. This looks like a reasonable buy zone area. If you look at it compared with the likes of IO.net, doing very similar things, bouncing off that previous area of resistance, giving us a decent entry. But obviously, it's not financial advice. Go and do your own research before investing into any of the projects I talked about today. Now, guys, if you want to go and buy any of these different tokens, I don't believe that they're all available on Coinbase or Binance. And that's typically because those platforms are very difficult to get your newer crypto project on. So if you want to invest in anything that's under like $1 billion market cap, you need to do it on an exchange like MEXC. MEXC has around 4,500 different altcoins, and you can find a link for MEXC down below in the description. Not only that, it has some of the lowest fees across crypto, it's also now offering 300x leverage. Do not use 300x leverage. You will get liquidated almost immediately. It's not cool. Don't do it, okay? Avoid using leverage if you're new to crypto. If you understand a little bit more about crypto, then, you know, fill your boots. Use leverage. I don't mind. But MEXC, the exchange I use every day. I also use Bitchnix every single day because, again, has a huge amount of different coins like Aether. Doesn't require KYC. So you can register for this account wherever you are in the world without having to put in your own personal details, which could be pretty advantageous depending on where you live. But obviously, go and do your own research into that. That's not me giving you any form of legal advice or whatever. Okay. Now, guys, hopefully you enjoyed today's video. If you did, do me a favor, hit that like button. If you are new to the channel and you want to learn how to dive deeper into different projects and understand where the real value is in crypto, then make sure you're subscribed, notification bell turned on, and I'll see you tomorrow in another video. Bye-bye.